Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So I wanted to seek the blessings of Radha Madhav, Radha Shyamsundar, Krishna Balaram, Bal Gopal, Gavanita, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled devotees. So continuing with the Bhagavad Gita, we are halfway through and starting the second half with chapter 10, the opulence of the absolute. Another phenomenal chapter. People complain that they cannot see God. They cannot see God, let alone see him at work. Because we can't see God, he doesn't exist. It's one of the common misconceptions that are bandied about. So we cannot see air, so it doesn't exist. You know, it's the same sort of logic, which is totally illogical. Of course, we know air exists because we wouldn't be living without it. And similarly, we know God exists because of the great order in this universe. You know, the sun rises and sets every single day without missing a day. Is that going to just be coming from chance? No, there's a hand behind it. Just like there's a hand behind all the buildings that go up. You know, somebody's drawn the plans, somebody's put the plans into motion, and somebody's actually doing the hard work. Somebody's decorating, somebody's then, you know, selling the property. So it just doesn't come up just like chance. Everything, even mundane things, so need so much hard work, let alone the universe. Anyway, people complain they can't see God at work, that he is not manifest in person before their eyes, and that they have no direct experience of his existence. Show me God, the skeptics demand. Then I'll believe in him. That's really immature thinking, because you haven't really given it any thought. That's quite a ridiculous position to take. So Krishna explains how the spiritualists can simultaneously perceive God as the source of the creation and also see God within the creation. Even if God shows himself, which he has in this world in the past, how do we have the vision to see him? When he showed himself as Krishna, hardly a handful of people, well, maybe more than a handful, but not many knew that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who's come to interact with us in the material world. So even if God shows himself, we're not so clever that we even recognize him. But he can be perceived throughout this creation, because he's the source of the creation. We can also see him within this creation. However, this requires more than an intellectual understanding. It actually calls for the transformations of one's consciousness, and revelation comes from within. So we cannot understand God through logic or through some mundane scientific experiment. No, actually, it's a question of trying to understand him through the heart, to the mind, to the ears, by hearing. The themes of this chapter are as follows. Because Arjun is a friend of the Lord. So Krishna says this, because you are my friend, I'm going to reveal to you my nature further. And then Krishna describes in 4 verses from text 8 to 10, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. This is really a very nice, these 4 verses are absolutely key to the Bhagavad Gita. And Rian, she knows them by heart. Rian, would you like to recite those 4 verses if you were there?
Yes, Prabhuji. Aham sarvasya prabhava mata sarva pravartate iti matva bhajante mam roda bhava samanvitaha machyata madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam.
Then it is Kathayantascha mam nityam tusyanti cha ramanti cha.
Prabhuji, can you hear me?
Yes, go on, carry on.
Yes, Prabhuji, the Wi-Fi went off for a few minutes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Tiksham satata yuktanam bhajata priti purvakam daranti buddhi yogantam yena mamapayanti te तेषामेवानुकम्पार्थमहं ज्ञानजन्तमः नासीयताम भावस्तु ज्ञानद्वीपेन भास्वतः. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yes. So in this verse, in these verses, Krishna explains how he is the source of everything, material and spiritual, how his devotees interact with him. He dwells, he sits in their heart. He also says how he reveals himself to his devotees, those who are constantly dedicated to me with devotion. I give them the understanding by which they will come to me. So we don't have to be an intellect, or don't have to necessarily read, so much if we don't want to. If we haven't got that aptitude, simply we become devotees, and the Lord will, within the heart, reveal himself. And how he also destroys our ignorance through the torchlight of knowledge. Knowledge is very powerful because it can destroy ignorance. Then Arjuna accepts Krishna as a supreme. And he says, not only I, because, okay, you're my friend, so I can just say, yes, you're the supreme. But no, it's not just me, it's the great sages. The great sages also, Narad, Asita, they all recognize you as the supreme. And then as a devotee is naturally inclined, he wants to know more. I want to know more about you. So then, after that request, Krishna explains, I think roughly 30 or more, maybe it's more, of vibhuti, his potencies, where he's present. Like he says, apsu soham kauntaya, I am the taste in water. Like that, he explains many places where we can actually experience the Supreme Lord. It's a very powerful chapter. Chapter 11 is entitled The Universal Form, the Virat Rup. So, the Sanskrit word Rup means form. One of the biggest theological debates is whether God has a personal form or if he is impersonal. Impersonal means just some effulgence emanating from the Lord. You could say a bright light. Some argue that accepting a personal form of God amounts to projecting our qualities onto him and limiting him. So sometimes that's one of the reasons that people argue, no, you can't say he's got a personal form because then you are limiting the Lord. No, 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 no. He has a personal form, but he's unlimited at the same time. Krishna, however, confirms in various passages of the Bhagavad Gita that he manifests in many ways, impersonally and personally. But he categorically states that the two-handed form is his original form, and is also the basis of the impersonal aspect of God. And that he says that in the 14th chapter, the last verse, I think it's number 27, Brahmano hi patistaham, he explains that I am the basis of the Brahmajyoti, the impersonal effulgence of the Lord. In this chapter, after Krishna displays his Vishwarup, his universal form, this terrific, terrible form, which is manifest in this world, not in the spiritual world, it's manifest here. He eventually reverts back to his two-handed form, and he then explains the significance of this form. So the themes of this chapter, Arjuna requests Krishna to show his universal form, because Arjuna knows that people will claim to be God, and those who want to be fooled and perhaps are somewhat foolish will believe that anybody is God if they just say so. So Arjuna said, no, show us your universal form. Because in the future, that is the standard that is set. If anybody claims to be God, okay, show us your universal form. Krishna shows his universal form to Arjuna. And his universal form is magnificent. Arjun sees so many devatas, so many aspects of the creation. He sees the demoniac getting crushed. He sees his cousins and others being crushed by the teeth of Krishna's Vishwarup. And this bewilders him. This form bewilders him because it's quite a astonishing form, quite a all-encompassing, terrible form. Then Krishna explains to Arjun that Arjun, simply has to act as his instrument. Because as time, Krishna will destroy everything. But if Arjun acts as Krishna's instrument, then time will not impact him. And Arjun asks for forgiveness. He's now sort of realized this is no ordinary person. Of course, he knew Krishna is no ordinary person, but when he saw the universal form, it really drove home, wow, hey, this is a supreme Lord. And I've been sitting with him on the same bed sometimes. I would eat with him, perhaps from the same plate as his. I would be joking with him. I would be teasing him. He'll be teasing me. And he apologized. I'm so sorry that I flippantly related with you in so many ways which I shouldn't have. And he begs him, please, this universal form is unbearable to see. Please, can I see your two-handed form again? So Krishna then turns actually first into his four-handed form, and then he goes back to his two-handed original form, stating that this can only be seen by pure devotional service. So this is really wonderful chapter in the sense that it establishes Krishna's divinity, if you like, if anybody had any doubt. And then the 12th chapter, this is many devotees' favorite chapter because it's got, it's named Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. It's one of the shortest chapters, and the verses are quite easy to also remember. But the message is amazing. Although chapter 12 is one of the shortest chapters in Bhagavad Gita, it contains essential wisdom which warms the heart of the reader. Entitled Devotional Service, this chapter discusses the path of devotion, the stages one may undergo to achieve it, and the qualities of the devotees who perfected it. We gain insight into the more cherished aspects of God's personality and the disposition of the devotee who is fully in love with him. So the themes of this chapter are, following on from seeing this universal form, Arjun asks Krishna whether it is better to worship his personal or impersonal form. So it is a direct question to Krishna, from Arjun. And Krishna answers that it is better, it's very clear actually, his answer, it's better to worship the personal form. Why? Because the impersonal form is very hard to relate to. And it's a lot of tapasya is required in order to commit the focus that is required in order to attain the supreme. But the personal form is very easy to relate to. So that's one theme. Second theme is that Krishna gives various options how to reach the highest. He explains to Arjun, you should focus your mind completely on me. And in that way, you will come to me. But Arjun, he must have looked at Krishna, that's a little challenging. So Krishna said, okay, if you can't focus your mind onto me, then, what was it? Work for me. I think it was work for me. Okay? If that is too much, if you can't work for me, give up some of, no. Before working for me, follow the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga. Okay, you can't follow the rules and regulations. Then work for me. Okay, you can't work for me. Then whatever your work you're doing, give up some of the results or all of the results to me. Okay, you can't do that. Can't even do that. Okay, at least the minimum you can do, gain knowledge about me. Get some knowledge, understand who I am. And slowly, 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 you will come to the perfect stage. So Krishna shows how flexible he is. He wants us back to the spiritual world. He's not a hardened parent that, what the heck, my children have gone away, stay away. No, he's the kind-hearted, sweet personality. He wants us back in the spiritual world, and he's giving concessions to us. If we can't fix our mind and do this, do that, okay, worst case, just get some knowledge. And finally, Krishna describes the qualities of the devotee which endear him to that devotee. And these are 8 verses. This is we call it the Bhakta Astakam, the 8 verses that describe the qualities of the devotee which Krishna likes. And at least 3, maybe 4 times, Krishna spells out that the devotee who can tolerate pain and gain is very dear to him. So if there's cold or heat, the devotee who can tolerate is very dear to him. If there's disturbance or there's happy times and the devotee can tolerate both, he is very endearing to the Lord. So he mentions that in those 8 verses at least 3 or 4 times. So it is very important to stay steady in our conviction that Krishna is always going to be there to protect us. So sometimes when we go through difficult patches in our life, we feel that there is no protection from the Lord. And somehow or other, we fall into this trap of thinking that the Lord doesn't care, doesn't love, he's not personal, he's, so many difficulties, he's not giving us any relief. But actually, we should understand that he is the kind parent. And sometimes, the parent will let the child go through some difficult patches to make their child stronger, more stronger and connected to the Supreme Lord even more. So we have to have that conviction, because this material world is full of ups and downs, a lot more downs than ups. So we have to be ready with that conviction. We have to be ready with our faith that no matter what, Krishna is our loving Father. He cares for us. He will protect us. He will guide us. And in every mishap, every disadvantaged situation, in every troubled position we're in, if we thank the Lord, thank you, my dear Lord. Thank you. You're teaching me a lesson. I don't quite understand it at the moment, but I know you care for me. You love me. You protect me. And I'm thanking you in advance, because I know I will come through this only because of your shelter. So it's very important to understand this. That's essentially a very important point in the Bhagavad Gita, and especially comes out from this chapter. Okay. I wanted to stop there. Any questions? Any comments? Anybody like to add anything to what I've said? Because these are phenomenal chapters. Everybody will be familiar with them.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Shyamini.
Yeah. Prabhu, you said Krishna said to meditate on his personal form.
Yes.
It's told Arjun, yeah?
Yeah.
So the personal form is just the normal, like just 2 hands and
Yeah. 2
form, yeah?
Yeah, 3 bending form. That's right.
Okay, all right, yes.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Krishna is very clear how he expresses himself to Arjuna. He extols the benefit of worshipping the personal form. Then he tells the disadvantages of worshipping the impersonal form, how it's such a hard route. Both are considered devotees, but he explains that don't go down the impersonal route, go down the personal route. And it's very clear. Krishna, within about 3 verses, Krishna just answers Arjuna, one of the most important points of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, anything else?
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you, Shamali. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's stop there. Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki jai.